turn it over to you for items of information.
All right, we'll start with our new CFO, Ms. Cody, with the May financials.
All right, so there were no budget amendments in the month of May. And then as you can see, our revenues were at 95.3%, which is right about on track of what we would think, and the expenditures were 88%. Our budget position as of May was 92%, so we're pretty much on track with our revenues and our expenditures. Our April sales tax collections were received in May in the amount of $2,996,128, and sales tax collections received in May 2023 were 2% higher than May of 2022. Are there any questions about the financials?
Any questions for Ms. Cody about the financials?
All right, then we will move on to the investments. All right, so interest earned in May was $55,184.24. And the total for the year is a little over 3.1 million. We've got about 49.7 million invested in money markets and 83.4 in investments, U.S. Treasuries.
We got one for shirts.
Yes.
Any questions there? All right. Moving on, Mr. Blackerby with the Google Workplace. Oh, excuse me, Smart Fusion update. I'm checked you off. I'm sorry. I double checked.
Sorry,
That's
I
okay.
clicked you.
No, that's fine.
It's graduation all over again.
Okay, so our original go live date for Smart Fusion was June 19th. When they came down, we, after a couple of days, we realized there were some processing and procedural issues that we needed to work out. Smart Fusion stayed for about 2 weeks, and we worked through a lot of things. So we started on a new timeline. Right now, we were supposed to have the June verification of payroll completed by July the 10th. We do have the gross payroll balance, but we're still working on balancing deductions. So this is a very, we're not going to stick strictly to this timeline. It was just to kind of give an idea. What I would like to see is they've actually created a Monday board for us where we're putting up all of our issues. And they're kind of tracking, like, this is a problem, this is what we're doing to fix it, and then it's closed out. I would like to see all of those issues worked through before they come back and we try to go live again. I just think that, you know, I want everything to be perfect, especially with payroll, accounts payable. Part of the problem was we had a dead week, and then they were trying to work through some issues and we weren't able to process POs. So we kind of just had to go back to the AS400 and be operational again.
I think it's smart to take it slow. I mean, you're talking about a lot of information being transferred, migrated into a new system, so I don't think it's unusual to see hitches in a schedule like this. And as long as we're still able to operate AS400, which we are, there's not really a point to rush it, I don't feel. So I think it's a smart decision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Looking for accuracy, not speedy.
Right.
All right. Any questions there? Now, Mr. Blackerby with the Google Workplace.
All right, okay, this is a recommendation for the renewal of our Google Education Workspace, which, you know, it essentially is the backbone of our, you know, communication tools, whether it's email and Google Classroom, all of our presentation software, you know, the things teachers use to manage their lessons. And so the recommendation is to renew based off of the 3-year renewal price, which is annual cost of $55,250. There is an attachment that breaks that down. There are options to just renew it year by year, which brings the cost up to $65,000 a year, so it's $10,000 savings by doing the 3-year annual renewal. I see no reason why we would be trying to go away from Google and convert that to something, to Microsoft or something else. So during the course of the next 3 years, that would be a pretty big undertaking. In a conversation with Mr. Schwartz today, we did look back in the prior to going to Google, the cost for Microsoft was around $100,000 a year. So this is a significant savings over that.
I have a question. The 37,200 is highlighted. It looks like staff licenses, but in the narrative, it says that the faculty and staff are no additional cost. So they're just putting that information in there to let us know how much we're saving by them including staff?
Right, and
Because that's not an additional.
Mr. Schwartz can explain how the cost has changed. We used to pay for students, right, and now we pay for staff, is that correct?
That is correct. Google changed their pricing model. We used to pay for students and got all our faculty. I'm sorry, we used to pay $24 per faculty member, and that gave us like a 10-to-1 ratio for students for free. Google has now changed their pricing model where they charge us $4.25 for 13,000 students, and then they give us the faculty for free.
So to answer your question about the 37,000, that's the old cost. Based on the new way of their calculating, the price has increased to the 55,000.
I see.
Correct.
I see,
Yeah.
because it was
That's
previously
By
staff
committing
licenses.
to the 3 years
Right.
instead of doing year by year. Year by year, they're charging us $5 a student. A 2-year commit is $450, and if we commit to 3 years, we get $4.25 per student.
But the option to renew it at the 37.2 is no longer available.
Correct.
No.
Yeah. And not in
Yeah, there's
addition
no
to.
longer the option to pay for faculty and get students for free.
Yeah,
They've done it like this now.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I go back to Smart Fusion for just 1 second? Do you mind? Just one question. I mean, do y'all think, are they still our choice? I mean, we've heard all along, everything's rocking along fine, and this is a major conversion. Any of us that have gone through stuff like this, we knew there were gonna be hiccups, but the whole time we've heard that everything's rocking along fine. I would rather hear, just for everybody's benefit, I mean, I'd rather hear things are a disaster all along than get to the point where we're supposed to be live by now and say, well, we're running all these issues. So first of all, make sure they're still our vendor that we want to use. And secondly, they're not charging us anymore. Are they being helpful as far as you're concerned as trying to work through issues?
Yes, right now they are still the preferred vendor, and I actually pulled up the cost of what we paid. We've only paid them for data conversion through January.
Right.
And then reimbursed a little
Okay.
bit of travel. So the travel that they came down for these 2 weeks, they're not gonna charge us for.
Sure.
So they've been working with us, yeah.
I think, if I remember right, in the initial schedule, it was just a month of parallel, which I thought was pretty aggressive, even from the outset. I don't know how you feel, but I think it usually takes 2 to more like 3 months
We'll have at
to
least
work
3.
through. Yeah. So I really feel like the initial schedule wasn't really doable, and now we're getting into something more.
I agree, but, when our CFO is telling us a month is, you know what I mean? I just want to make sure everybody's is upfront about how things are going to go in the future, rather than feeling like, I mean, we all knew it was aggressive, but we've all been through conversions, whether it be data or financial or whatever else. So I just wanted to make sure they're still our guy, I guess. Our girl.
Okay.
As long as it's not you.
All right, Mr. Blackerby, if you want to keep on going down the facilities update.
ESPOS projects, which are also, they're contained within the GOOD report as well, but Primarily from the East Plus 3 project standpoint, our two main ones that we have going on are the final renovations on the Glynn Academy main gym, which are progressing on schedule. We now have the gym floor actually available for use if needed. Still working on the restrooms and the lobby areas, getting those renovated, as well as doing the final touches on the locker room areas. But we should, in the next couple of weeks, be by the end of July, we should be done with all areas of that. So things are moving well there. And the other major thing we have going on is the paving of the Egmont Street parking. We did have some fairly significant delays there with some permitting issues. A lot of with tearing the old building down, basically the demolition permits. We finally got all that cleared up. I believe it was June 26th, and we immediately started demolition of the building, which if you've driven by there, you can see that it is in full demolition mode at this point. I talked with the contractors today, and they still feel like they're on target. Barring any significant weather, we have, getting it all paved and ready for the start of the school year. So those are the two main things we have going on East Plus 3 wise. As far as East Plus 4, we have our kitchen renovations going on at Needwood and Oglethorpe. We are in the process of feverishly putting those back together. The biggest delays we have right there at those two projects are with the serving lines, which may not be here or will not be here for the start of the school year. We do still have the old serving lines in place or available to be put back in place to use. So we'll be fine from a food service standpoint. We just won't have the new serving lines in place until later in the fall. And Satilla Marsh, we have started the creation of the new bus loop that is needed in order to build the 8 additional classrooms and the new kitchen. Same thing there, just as with Egmont Street, we had some land disturbance permit issues. It took us a while to work through, but we are on track right now and are working towards getting that done. And again, talked to the contractor today, and we feel like we'll definitely have it in time to get the buses routed through there on the first day of school. But those are our big projects that are going on as far as East Plus 4 goes right now. We also have the other project, that GA Annex floor replacement. We've got it all put back together. The carpet has all been reinstalled, have a few touch-ups as far as the baseboards going down and putting the Promethean panels back on the walls and that type of stuff. But we should be ready to start moving back into those classrooms by the middle of next week. So things are progressing well there. Did I miss any project that y'all were concerned about?
No, but for the annex, is that all the classrooms that needed to be done that will be complete, or
We did the entire bottom floor.
The
Yeah.
bottom
Okay.
Yeah,
I actually walked around there last week. It's done. They're
we
just
went
waiting
down
to
to
put the
bare
carpet
dirt
back.
basically and
Okay.
put in pilings and then some structures to reinforce the floor doors. So it's all back together. Yeah, we do have the board office renovation here, which you'll see a GMP for coming up. Just to give you kind of a scheduling issue we have encountered with that is with the mechanical equipment. It is included in the price of what we'll be asking you to approve tonight, but we've tried to modify the plan as much as possible to try to see what equipment we could get here in the shortest amount of time. It's looking like it's probably still going to be February before we can get the HVAC equipment here to finalize that project, if we start next week, essentially. From the good report, probably the highlight of that is always the sales tax collections, which are up from last month. We're at 3.1 million, still tracking well ahead of where we were last year and all the previous years. If we continue on the rate we are now, even with our $2 million budget number, which again we haven't been near the $2 million budget, we've been significantly above it. That puts us at November of 24 completing collections. But if our trajectory just continues like it is now, we're probably looking at spring of '24. So this coming spring, we'll probably reach the 112 million mark. So again, collections are doing well there. Any questions on the good report?
All right. We'll go to Ms. Haywood with policy updates.
Good evening, everyone. During the 2023 legislative session, there were a couple of updates from the legislature that impacted our medication policy. One of them is HB 440, where we would stock ready-to-use glucagon for students with diabetes. And then also, we're also now required by law to prepare a seizure action plan for students that suffer from epilepsy. And so what we've done is added some recommendations in collaboration with Mr. Madala based on our policy of updating with the required information that the legislation passed during its 23 session. So attached, you'll see the highlighted items. Those are just the additions. This is our original policy, just with the updates that would align and make sure that we're in compliance with our policy with the legislative requirements. So the recommendation is for you to consider laying this on the table for 30 days and to adopt it at your next meeting. Any questions regarding that?
All right. Attendance and discipline.
Yes, sir. So as customary, we provide you all with an update at the end of each semester on attendance for our district as well as discipline. And so, might need a little help, guys. So this is the, just basically showing you by district, the number that's most important here. You break down by school and program, gives you the percentage of students and the number of students that have missed 0 days of school, 1 to 5, 6 to 9, and then 10 plus. And of course, one of the things they're concerned about is that 41% of our kids have missed a significant amount of school this year. These numbers represent unexcused and excused absences. It does not include any OSS days. And so one of the things that, it's like, so what, there's a problem, so what are we gonna do about it? And in conversation with Dr. Spence, one of the things that the Student Services Department would like to do this year is to recapture student voice. Why are students not coming to school? We know that the problem with regard to elementary is not their fault. A lot of times with getting to school, but middle and high school, certainly, we want to re-engage and find out what's going on with our kids. Why aren't they coming to school? Are there issues that perhaps we're not aware of that would be impacting why student attendance at school is a concern? One of the things we've also talked about are just some different strategies in which to re-engage our parents. Last year, in the FY19 school year, we launched an attendance campaign. And of course, COVID kind of changed some of those things, but one of the things I'd like to do this year is to reinstitute that, working with some of our community officials and some of you all to help with telling our parents how important it is that our kids should be at school. So I know that that's something that we can't necessarily impact directly, but did want you to at least know where we were with regard to that. And these slides just break down those numbers from that main chart, just so that you can see it a little clearer. Again, by grade span and by program.
So it's important to remember that a few years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, we could count attendance. If they missed so many days, then they didn't pass the class. Well, the state took that away from us. We also, as a high school principal, I could take a kid's driver's license if they missed too many days. The state took that away from us. So we really have no teeth when it comes to this. The only thing we have right now in place is if they miss more than 7 unexcused absences, then they're not eligible for extracurricular activities. But as far as the teeth that we can have, there's not much we can do other than make sure the parents get the kids to school and keep trying to get them there.
The majority of students that are missing school, they're really not participating
That's
in
to right.
extracurricular activities.
That's
Because
correct.
the ones that are involved, they are involved.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
So we really don't have any teeth yet. Get out of here. Okay.
And you
So-
said it includes excused absences as well, so I wonder, you know, some of those kids maybe can't help being that many days out of school, but others, I think parents can write an excuse for so many days without the
Right.
doctor's note, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if
And our
that
policy
impacts.
allows for them to write up to, they can excuse up to 7 absences with parent notes, and anything beyond that would require medical documentation.
Right.
But again, you know, for me, it's concerning that we have a large number of students that are not in school, but I just want to find out why. You know, we all, oftentimes as adults, we think we know
Sure.
what's happening, but I really want to recapture our student voice to find out exactly why our students not engaged in school, why aren't they coming to school? And see how we can come up with some different ways to re-engage them back in the learning process. And the final slide this evening is just showing you the cumulative number of discipline referrals by state code and comparing FY '21 to '22 to this year, FY '23. And this is based on unduplicated students. These are students that represent, not incidents, by state code. And one of the things that we did these past years is we've really written things up. When things happen in school, we've responded to them. And so we naturally have expected there to be an increase in discipline. And again, in trends with what we see in our community and other places, we're seeing a rise. But we're definitely talking about ways in which we can address some of these issues that we're seeing across the district and with regard to discipline. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all have regarding the numbers.
I'm just looking at this, and of the 3,465, 1,115 are attendance related. So that's almost a third of them
And that goes back to
go,
your attendance
is the
issue,
same
'cause-
issue.
Right, discipline referrals at the high school level for attendance related. And that can include, those referrals, Ms. Sams, could also include skipping, not necessarily absences. So that's something we definitely want to talk through, come up with a different way of being able to address some of those things. Another number that jumped out at me was the dress code violations, but of course, that's directly because we changed our dress code policy last year. And so it tells me that we're enforcing that.
If you remember, 3 years ago, we talked about hiding discipline problems and not reporting it, and we felt like that was a problem. And so we're putting everything out there. So now that we have true numbers, now we're going to try to address the issues, because we had to have true data to be able to do such.
That's right.
All right, any questions for Ms. Haywood? Mr. Waters?
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing about attendance, when you get a note from the ER, they come to the ER saying, I need to get a note, because they don't pay for any of it, so
And that's another problem
unfortunate,
too.
and it happens often. Thought I'd mention it.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Right.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Coming to you today to ask to replace the speakers at the stadium. They are 9 years old and have survived a couple of hurricanes and a few tropical storms. And if you attended a soccer game this year, you could tell they were on their last leg. We suffered through a lot of back feed. It sounded like a bunch of bees were in the scoreboard. But we had a couple companies come and see if we could do a cheap fix, and it's not possible. It's just time to replace the overall speaker system. Part of this will also, just so you know, not only impact the athletic experience, but also the graduation experience. So we're hoping these speakers can certainly help with graduation, and we've spent $15,000 this year on sound for graduation. So hoping to get that cost down and not have a yearly cost there. So we did an RFP and advertised on the Georgia Procurement Registry and Glynn County Schools website. Sent out to over 248 companies, and we are requesting that the board approve the bid from iMet Media, which is a local company, for $171,773.
Any questions there?
I will say I did go out there whenever we had one group come in to look at the sound, and it's definitely needed. Also went to a soccer game at the end of the year with Steve, and it
is annoying, to say the least. And even the parents, I mean, you feel bad about the spectators listening to the humming in the background, so it's really not it's definitely time to be replaced.
Well, we have to
So-
pay $15,000 for graduation, to bring in speakers for graduation, so that, this will solve that problem. All right, thank you, Mr. Waters. So I'm up next with the MOU for Coastal Plains. If somebody can work that for me. Okay, so, we've been working with Coastal Plains for a few years now for students who drop out of school, but House Bill 87 has changed that. And so the way they're going to do the Coastal Plains, the charter high schools now, is the students who were enrolled as of June the 30th, 2023, if they were enrolled at Coastal Plains, then they will be their students. And they'll get FTE for those students, and they will count on their accountability. But any student who enrolls after July the 1st, they're our students. And we have the accountability, and we have to pay the FTE to Coastal Plains. And so that's the agreement that we have to have in place under House Bill 87. And so we're asking that we approve that for 1 year. We're going to see how it works for 1 year, and if it doesn't do well, then we'll do something on our own. If it does well, we'll continue to do it. So basically, we're going to pay them FTE money. If the student is enrolled at Coastal Plains on the day the FTE counts, then they'll get the money. If they're enrolled in Glynn County on that day, we'll get the money. So we're going to get it either way. It just goes from us to Coastal Plains. All right. Okay. Any questions there? All right, thank you. I'm listed as the heavy equipment grant, but I don't know much about heavy equipment, so I'm going to have Dr. Deppenhart talk about the heavy equipment. Plus, he's the one that got the grant, so.
Good evening. So the purpose of this evening is to get your approval for the purchase of 4 Caterpillar full motion simulators. These simulators are equipped with both sound and vibration and motion movement. They are virtual reality capable and work for both the skid steer, the hydraulic excavator and the bulldozer platforms. Now this year, the state of Georgia, along with C.W. Matthews and the Georgia Highway Contractors Association, allocated $3.3 million to give up to 8 different school districts a grant to purchase these simulators. And I'm pleased to say that Glynn County Schools was selected to receive $417,000 for the purchase of 4 of these simulator systems. So the total package for 4 of the simulators, this includes all of the software as well as the curriculum, the installation, and the upkeep package. As I said, it's $417,000. This is not money that Glynn County Schools is having to pay. This money was actually granted to us from the state of Georgia through this grant. Myself and Ms. Cody have already confirmed that this money is available in the CONAP to make this purchase at this time. But because the simulators are $104,250 a piece, that's above the threshold that we now need board approval in order to make the purchase. It is a sole source purchase, so we are exempt from the bid process. Caterpillar is the only company that makes these particular simulators that have the required specifications for the grant.
Do you want to explain how the pathway is going to work with the first?
Absolutely. So we already, as you know, have 2 simulators that we got last year, one that the school district purchased and one that we got from a grant from the Georgia Foundation for Public Education. However, those are not motion simulators, those are desktop simulators. So initially, the students will learn on the desktop simulators, and as they progress through the second course, they will then learn on these full motion simulators. Once they've gotten the skill set down on the full motion, Mr. Holland, the instructor, will then take them over to Seaboard, where we've worked with Mr. Kicklighter, the president of Seaboard Construction, and his staff, where the students will actually work on live equipment and actually perform maintenance tasks on bulldozers and hydraulic excavators. For our students, it's a valuable opportunity to get certified in heavy equipment, and for companies like Seaboard, who invested so much in this partnership, they will now have basically an audition on their hands to select which students they want to hire upon graduation. So I request that you approve the purchase of these 4 simulators.
So in addition to this pathway, we're starting a first responders pathway?
Yes, sir. Fire and emergency services pathway, a dental science pathway, and a career-ready workforce pathway will all be new at GICA this year.
Any questions for Dr. Deppenhart?
No, thank you for
Thank you so much.
seeking out this grant.
Thank
It's
you.
an incredible amount.
Yes.
Dr. Whitehead, you're up.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So there are 3 different renewal requests on the agenda for tonight related to special education services that we currently have the most difficulty being able to hire locally for these staff members, for 2 of them. So the RFP renewal for ASL Associates is to provide sign language interpreters for our deaf, hard of hearing population. The positions are posted and unable to be filled through our frontline application system, and we currently are in need of 3. This would be an extension of the RFP from 2021, RFP 21-08. This will be a renewal of that particular RFP, so we would request the approval to continue operating under that RFP for being able to bring on sign language interpreters that are needed to fulfill IEP requirements. And I don't know if you have any questions about that particular RFP. Again, related to our sign language needs that we have. The next RFP renewal request is for Go Solutions. It's a platform that allows us to complete our Medicaid billing and helps us pull information in on our students that are eligible for reimbursement under the Medicaid program. So Go Solutions was awarded the RFP back in 2109 as an RFP request, and we'd like to have renewal of that RFP as well. We've not had any issues using that platform or service to conduct our billing. And then the last renewal is for Allied Instructional Services, and this is to provide services to our visually impaired students. Again, that's a position that has been posted and unable to be filled. So a continuation of RFP 2309 approval for that would allow us to continue to operate with this agency to provide those services.
Any
Did we not
questions?
have any applicants for any of them? Or did we have some that people that?
Dr. McKinnon can confirm.
We didn't have credible applicants for any of them. A lot of times they want to offer teleservices and we'd rather have face-to-face, and we can get that through contract.
Thank you.
Have the companies ASL and Allied Instructional Services, have they been reliable with being able to provide the services in the past?
Yes, ASL Associates is out of Jacksonville, and even we use them, now we're using them for 3 interpreters that we need that we don't have or haven't been able to hire. But we've also used them when our interpreters were sick. They drive up from Jacksonville and fill in for us. So yes, they're very reliable.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Mr. Blackerby, Cafeteria Furniture at Needwood.
This is a recommendation for the purchase of the cafeteria furniture for the newly renovated Needwood Middle School cafeteria. Obviously, we won't have the furniture there for the start of the school year, but we do have the old furniture still in storage. We had to work through things to get the layout and our schedule worked out with that. But this is through Palmer Hamilton on the Sourcewell contract. This is the same cafeteria furniture we've purchased for the last 4 projects, I guess, starting at Altama and going forward, but it is for $191,178. And we're asking for your approval for that, and it is an E+4 expenditure.
Questions? Data center.
This is a recommendation to purchase the hardware and software needed to refresh our data center. The recommendation is to purchase for $1.3 million, $1,335,750. And this refreshes the equipment that was put in there in 2019, which is now out of warranty. But on top of that, and more importantly, we're out of storage space. And without making the purchase, we cannot expand anymore. One of the primary things we need the storage for to expand is for the security cameras. We're now completely out of space for security cameras, additional security cameras. So there is a breakdown, which one is it? Breakdown of the cost is here, which the 1.3 recommendation is there. There is an option if we would prefer to lease it, but that for 5 years, which would be 1.4 million. So it's actually a savings to make the purchase rather than the lease.
Bob, what kind of bites do we get now? Where we at?
4 petabytes.
What'd you say?
Petabytes.
Petabytes. So we're in petabyte land now.
Which I believe that information is right here in the storage, on the attachment for the storage. So, any questions on that?
We don't keep and maybe this is not a question for open session, we don't keep camera footage forever though, right? I mean,
No, I believe right now it's 21 days, is that right?
21 days,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
before it ever writes itself.
This will get us back up to 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we're gonna spend $1.3 million every 4 years to refresh our data center?
Depends on how technology changes.
I mean, we're going down in students, right? I mean,
We are going down in students, but not
Yeah.
that
you have
fast.
to go for discipline.
Yeah.
I got you, okay.
Board office renovation.
And as I mentioned earlier, this is the guaranteed maximum price recommendation for the wing one of the board office renovation, $3,139,340. R.H. Tyson has already been selected as the CM and helped us in formulating the GMP. As part of this GMP, although it is for wing one, there are certain items in here that also support the rest of the building, so some of these will not be reoccurring costs as we move on to subsequent ways. One major expenditure is in the electrical, which is one of the big bid packages on here, which is close to $500,000. We do have the new switchgear and the infrastructure to support the rest of the building for that, as well as with the site utilities, and some of that supports the rest of the building. One major issue with that is the sewer lines for the building. This will take care of the sewer as it exits the building for all the wings at that point. But the recommendation is for $3,139,340.10.
Does it include any, and you had said this, then I may have missed it, does it include like parking lot improvements or anything? We're gonna repave the loop or anything like that?
This part does not include
It's different.
that.
Okay,
Our intent was at some point to try to, if we can find a time when we don't have trainings going on
Sure.
and cars everywhere, is to the curb that extends out that kind of blocks the two parking lots
Right.
off. We'd like to go ahead and get that out of the way so we can kind of make a little better traffic pattern. But eventually, after all the construction over with, yes, we will have a new
Okay.
parking lot in you. But also, now's not the time to do it because we're going to be tearing some of it up as we install the new sewer
Sure,
line and the
sure.
site
Okay.
utilities. But if we can, like I say, if we can find a good time when we don't have a lot of traffic, we're going to try to tear that curb out as soon as possible.
So repaving the parking lot, and getting all that ready to be additional to what you just presented?
This is just for wing one, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is just to get the first wing underway. First wing, and then, like I say, the electrical infrastructure and sewer lines and that type of stuff.
can you stop the demolition of downtown? Move the data center back.
The exterior walls are still up, there's not a lot left in the middle. Be open air
I don't
facility.
think we could build it back to this, for sure.
But after we finish, we're talking one wing, right, in sewer? Yeah.
Yeah.
We may just stay the way we are and then we'll build that wing and whoever gets lucky enough to go over there. All right. The child care update, Ms. Hills and Ms. Miller.
Good evening. We've been working on, this is our update, I'm sorry. This is our update for childcare for July. We are expecting to open at the end of this month. Here we are in regards to hiring. At the Faces site, all of our staff has been hired. We are missing one lead teacher and one assistant teacher there at Altama Elementary School. However, we're hoping that we'll have those hired. But if not, we already have a plan in place with substitutes who are going to come in and train when we do our CPR and first aid training with our staff. So they'll have that training, and that the first day with staff will be July the 24th, 2023. Exemptions. I just want to say publicly thank you to Mr. Blackerby and our maintenance department for all of their help in helping to get the exemptions done. That meant we had to go through some of our city and county officials to be able to obtain the documents that we need in order to open or have an exemption. Because we are a school system, we're exempt from some of the expectations that privately owned child care centers have to go through. And so because we have obtained the exemptions for both sites, we will now just place a certificate up front, and the parents have to sign off on those exemptions, and I had to submit that to DECAL as well. So we have those. Ms. Miller, you want to?
Yeah, I'll just jump in on the curriculum. The curriculum has been ordered for the 3-year-old classrooms at both locations. And that curriculum consists of shapes, colors, numbers, brief introduction to letters, things like that, as well as reading each day with the kids. And it provides the teachers and the staff that will be in each classroom activities to do with those students throughout the day. So it's not just a daycare. It's actually going to be a learning environment for those 3-year-old students. And then with the 2 to 3-year-old students. And then with the babies in the 1-year-old room, as well as the 3-year-old room, we've purchased Hi Mama, which is another communication tool that parents will be able to communicate with the teachers directly, instantly, and see what their children ate for the day, what their children learned that day, how many times their diaper was changed, or how many ounces of formula they happened to eat. So we're very excited about that part.
Since our last discussion, we have updated the charge. It's going to be $125 a week. Our enrollment as of today is 20 at each site. Our maximum capacity is 60. So this gives us a little bit of space in each place for some of our teachers who may have children during the year, and also new people who may be coming in during the year as well too. So we're satisfied with the beginning number right now. We still have some spaces open, so if staff members want to get on that list, they can. Our furniture has been received for both sites as well. We are working to get that put together and have that prepared. Ms. Miller has already mentioned about Hi Mama, and it's the communication software she's already talked about, and we've also spoken with Ms. Cody in finance, who will be using that same software to receive payments so that we don't have a staff member necessarily collecting money every week. So the parents will go in, submit their payments there, and then a staff member on site will just pull who's paid so that they can reconcile that with our finance department. As stated before, CPR and first aid training has been coordinated, and we work with school nutrition to come up with a plan. And also too, Ms. Miller and Mr. Schwartz and myself have discussed the camera installment, and that's happening now.
And I did want to add too about the substitutes. The substitutes that we have scheduled coming in that first week are current substitutes from our district, so they've all gone through Glynn County training. In fact, some of them are even retired teachers that just want to come back and be with the little ones. So.
And they all go through the same process, the background check and all of those things as well too.
You stated you had some more remaining opening for this school term, so what would be the max?
60.
So we still could take 40 in each school?
No, 10 at each school.
We have 10 openings left in each school?
Remind me real quick what you found on average the cost was for private daycare?
Honestly, the average cost that we were finding was about between $165 and $200. And originally, we had talked about $175, that kind of put us right in the kind of a sweet spot. But we are looking at this as a service to our staff.
Right, I agree. I couldn't remember what you said.
The idea is to break even, because they're trying to make money, we'll find it, and if we lose a little money, we'll find a break-even point.
Our next steps, we're finalizing our handbook. We just had to get the exemptions piece completed. Also, Ms. Thompson is going to be supervising that program, and she's finalizing the pre-planning agenda. We have uniforms. Once our staff has been finalized, we'll collect their sizes, and we'll be working with our school nutrition department to get their uniforms together, and we're going to put a little sunshine and cloud on each one of their uniforms. I just think that's cute, on each uniform, so that parents will also know that this person is with the daycare department, but the staff members will also have on a picture ID as well, like everybody else in the school. And then we're finalizing our substitute plan. We have emailed all of our current active subs in our district to ask them if they were interested, and to also determine whether or not they are already CPR or first aid certified. And so that lets us know how many trainings we might need during the year for CPR and first aid certification before they can actually be a part of this subbing for this program. So we're excited about it. I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Thompson for all of her hard work and working to get this updated. As I've stated, Ms. Miller has been really a big part of this as well. So has Mr. Blackerby and his department. Thank you all for this opportunity. And I think students will come. The first day with children will be July 31st. And so that's kind of exciting. But we're looking forward to it. As a former high school teacher, I'm looking forward to seeing babies come to school.
Any other questions for Ms. Seals or Ms. Miller? All right, Mr. Blackerby, you can close it out.
One final item. So back last June board meeting, I believe it was, an underground easement was approved for Georgia Power. And this is at the entrance to Golden Isles Elementary, coming in the driveway into that wooded area and going past the school. You approved an underground easement. And since that time, Georgia Power has determined that the underground easement's not going to be something they can use. They need an overhead easement. So they have come back to us and asked if we could approve an overhead easement. And again, this is through Georgia Power. Mr. Lakin has reviewed the easement contract, and it's just the standard contract as we've done with several other easements. So it's there's nothing unique about it. The only thing we stand to gain, again, because this is really as a favor to Georgia Power, is I have already had conversations with the developers who Georgia Power is going to be serving. And there, if you're familiar with the entrance to Golden Isles Elementary, as you come in the driveway, there's a rectangular wooded plot that separates the driveway from the parking lot. There's been some issues over the last few years with trespassers in that area and going into that wooded area. We've cut it several times, but it hasn't been enough to completely deter them from going in there. So the developer has offered to basically do whatever we want with that piece of land as far as clearing it, cutting whatever trees we want off of it, free of charge if we allow the easement to come through as well.
Any questions for Mr. Blackerby? Ms. Sams, that is all I have.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions, given that we're having a board meeting right after this to vote on these things that have been presented tonight? Just one last opportunity to ask questions. Nobody? Mr. Mansell?
Mr. Mansell, do you have any questions?
Okay. Well, let's see. We've got an executive session, but in the interim, we're going to have some students come and present that were on the agenda for the board meeting. So,
I guess we could go to executive session, and when they get here, we can come out of executive session and then go back into
yeah,
executive session.
it's just about 10 minutes, but, okay. So I'll take a motion to enter into, to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms.
For
Gibbon.
what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Legal and personnel, for sure.
And legal, tribunal, yeah. Ms. Gibbons with the motion, second. Mr. Edgy? All those in favor? And Mr. Mansell's with us on the phone, so that's 6 of us. Thank you.
Who have achieved above and beyond, and this group has certainly done that. I think sometimes in Glynn County, we take it for granted when you win a state championship. It's very, very rare. Over 30% of the schools in the state of Georgia have never won one state championship or have an individual state champion. So we're fortunate in Glynn County that we have great resources, great coaches, and great student athletes. And tonight is certainly going to show us that. I want to start off with the guy that you got to meet last year, Mr. Ryan Rankin, and Coach Brian Edwards. Y'all come on up. As you learned last year, Ryan's just a great person. Great in the classroom. His coaches love him, just a good person. But he's also can jump really, 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 really high. To the point where, as Coach Edwards would tell you, he won the state championship again this year, set a state record, and just got back from Oregon yesterday, where he was in the national high jump competition. So I'm going to let Coach Edwards tell you a little bit about Ryan, and also if you'll introduce his family for us.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Coach Edwards. This young man behind me is a great phenom here in our county. As previously stated, he won the state championship last year. It was actually Brunswick High's first track and field state champion. He cleared the bar at 7 foot. We went back in the lab and we set a new goal to break the state record at the actual track meet. And that's what this young man did. He cleared a height of 7 foot 3 inches and 3/4. That's a big deal because that was a 40-year record. So he shattered a 40-year record, and he did it on his first attempt. But as I said, that's not all. He also shattered another record that we have here, which is never having a national champion. Mr. Rankin, about 2-3 weeks ago, at the Nike Nationals, he competed against 12 other high school athletes around the country, and he ended up being #1 with a height of 6'9". So he is a very talented individual. This young man works very hard. I'm very proud of him. He's cleared over the course of his high school career the height of 7 feet. He's cleared it approximately 12 times. If you look at it over the years, and if you want to go back and do some research, that means that he's on track to be a future Olympian. Matter of fact, he just left the trials this past weekend where he finished 5th, but like we were talking and laughing, this is only the beginning. At the beginning of his actual high school career here, he actually went and finished 3rd in the state as a 10th grader. And that defeat launched him forward to break the records and have success. So we're looking to the same thing here as far as him being a ACC champion at the University of Georgia, as well as a national champion, as well as an Olympian champion. So he's here with, of course this is him, he's here with his mom, Mr. Ronza Young, as well as his brother, Mr. Zion. So again, we have some more of him coming through. All right then, so again, this is Mr. Ryan Rankin. Again, he's headed to the University of Georgia, and he's going to major in accounting. So worst case scenario, we got somebody.
Thank y'all.
Congratulations.
I did a little research, and if Ryan jumps like he did in high school this year, he'll win the SEC next year. So that's a pretty big goal for him next year, is to be an SEC champion. But congratulations, Coach Edwards and Ryan. Next, we will honor the Glynn Academy girls and boys golf team. Before we do that, though, I do want to congratulate Glynn Academy this year. I don't think this is out in the community yet, but Glynn Academy finished 5th overall in overall athletics in the state. Wow. So that's a big accomplishment for our community, as for them. I think that ties the all-time record for the school in Glynn County. So if you combine all the sports together, add up the total points, Glynn Academy was 5th in the state. So congratulations to them. Of course, we wouldn't have finished 5th in the state if these two teams weren't state champions, and that they finished the year strong, and we want to certainly honor them tonight. We want to start off by honoring the girls team. the back-to-back state champions, the Glynn Academy girls golf team, and Coach Hall is going to come up and introduce them.
Dr. Spence, Board of Education, thank you for having us. We appreciate your time. Tonight I have Chanley Box and Elise Burney with us. I'd be amiss if I don't recognize the rest of our team. So excuse me for my notes, but we got 12 girls on the team. We built this program from 3 girls up to 12. And we're graduating 3, but we're bringing in 3 more. So the program is going to be strong for the near future. But it'd be Emma Hill, Emma Barron, that'd be Charlie Podlesny, Macy Gleaton, Hunter Basisi, Bailey Wainwright, and our 9th grade team is Caitlin Felton, Irina Bressler, Mary Griffith Webb, and Madison Warren. We don't get a chance because of the way the championship panned out this year. We're at the end of the school year, so we weren't able to do a banquet yet. We hope to do a banquet when the rings come in. But I wanted to make sure I thanked some people. First of all, I want to thank Coach Waters and our athletic department at the county for all the work they do for us. Mr. Blackstone and Mr. Parker and their secretaries, Ms. Perry, and Ms. Harrington. It takes a lot to run the program, and I appreciate their help because school comes first, as the girls will tell you. But, I mean, there's a lot to do, and I want to thank them, make sure I recognize them. This year, Coach Waters alluded to, we were back-to-back. And to win a state championship back-to-back is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, especially because this year, the adversity we faced, we had some things go with injuries and such, and the girls worked very hard. They're outstanding. All of them have a 4.0 or higher grade point average in school. Excellent students, and they are the epitome of a student athlete. I enjoy, football's my passion, but I have more fun and more satisfaction working with these young ladies, and I appreciate their time and effort. The adversity I was talking about, we knew going into the state championship we needed to have at least 1 to 2 girls shooting in the 70s, and the other girls shooting the 80s. Our number 1, Chanley, injured her hand about a week and a half before the season ended for the state championship, and very painful. I talked to Dr. Sasser, and he said she's not going to do any damage, but if she can bear the pain, to play. And the thing is, if any of y'all play golf, you know, golf is hard enough as it is, but she had to go from interlocking to a 10-finger grip in a week and a half. And the first day, it was rough. She had a rough day. But the second day, she came back and shot a 78. And Elise and Emma Hill both shot in the 70s. Elise had a bad day on the second day, but Chanley picked her up. So there was definitely a team effort. They did a fantastic job. And I want to thank y'all for having us again. I know I'm forgetting people, but you should be very proud of these young ladies. They did a great job this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think when Mr. Halsey and I played, the team GPA was about 2.8.
It wasn't very high.
It wasn't 4.0. But congratulations. It was fun to watch the girls this year. They, in the state tournament, I noticed that they really set the pace with the way they play. They're 25 to 30 yards ahead of their competitors in the way they walk, and they just set the standard with their confidence, and they just elude confidence by the way they play and carry themselves on the course. So congratulations on the back-to-back championship. And now I'll introduce Coach Zito and Coach Hall with the boys golf team. It's been a while for the boys, but they brought it home this year, peaked at the right time, and couldn't be prouder of this group.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am Mike Zito, Coach Mike Zito. I got, let me tell you who I got Hank Holcomb, Jr., Hayden Cortier, Senior, and Jake Dancia, Jr. Most of our other boys right now are out at orientation at Georgia, so a lot of them couldn't make it. I'm going to allude to what Coach Waters said earlier, how hard it is to obtain one of these things, and the amount of effort that goes into it. Last time we had this was in 2011.
So this kind of stays with me right now. I sleep with it, drive in the car with me, and all of a sudden. So, yeah, this year was, we had a lot of talent. So I graduated 8 seniors this year. And those boys had been with me for at least 3 years, all 8 of them, with the exception of Hayden here. But you know, we had no drama other than the fact that we had a couple accidents this year. We had one boy, Grady Sanders, break his leg, and within 3 days after he broke his leg, they put a rod in his leg, and 6 weeks later he was playing. He actually started one day during the state championship and played well. We also in the state championship had the overall winner, low medalist, Williamson Mosier. He shot 69, 71 in some pretty tough conditions. Coach Hall can attest to the fact that we played in rain most of the time and high winds, 10, 15 miles an hour. So, but yeah, our year was really kind of a roller coaster ride. We started out really good. We had a couple injuries. And, you know, as the year went on, we just kind of kept pressing. And then the last 2 weeks, it was just amazing how these group of boys just pulled it together and, you know, pulled it out. We went into the tournament thinking that we needed to shoot a certain score. And on the very first day, we shot the best score. We shot 291. And I just told the boys on the second day, all we need to do is just play one shot at a time. If we can do that, we're going to be fine, and that's what we did. Hank was a big part of that. Hank's the junior, is going to be a returning starter. He started for me all this year, and then we have Jake Dancy that'll be back. And then, you know, we're gonna be young this upcoming year, but you know, we got some good players coming up. So, but that's all I got. I do want to also thank Mr. Blackstone for all his support, and then Steve Waters as well as Coach Parker. And Josette too as well. There again, it takes a group of people to kind of keep this thing going, and they've been very helpful this year. So thank y'all.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Coach Hall, I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything? No. Let's do that, Tim. I forget. Tim took care of the JV team for us because we usually, if I could just interject real quick, we usually have 20 to 25, 30 kids come out every year. We usually try and keep the varsity around 10 players. And then Coach Hall kind of takes all the other kids and weeds them out. We have a JV, and then all the other kids just kind of, you know, will go to first tee or something else. But I don't know if you want to say something.
No, I mean, I will say this one thing, that when this group when they were 8th graders, and I had them with the JV, I told Mike then, I said, these boys have the capability of winning the state championship, and they did their senior year. You know, not only is it a physical thing, but probably the biggest thing is up here, the mental thing. And you know, they came around and weathered through and won the state championship. So Mike and I are very proud of them. Thank you.
I just want to say quickly, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's summertime. There's a lot more fun things that you could probably do, but it's nice to recognize y'all for these accomplishments. And athletics is more just than learning the skill of your sport. I mean, this teaches you things that you carry into the classroom and with you for years to come. So I appreciate y'all taking the extra effort during the school year and putting in the time to, you know, work on your game and excelling at the level that you have. So have a great year next year.
Session.
Second.
Mr. Halsey has a motion, we return to open session, and second by Ms. Gibbons. All those in favor of returning to open session? It's unanimous with 6 of us.
Make a motion, we approve the workers' comp settlement.
As presented by Mr. Lakin, the motion by Mr. Halsey to approve workers' comp. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibbons. All those in favor of approving the settlement? Aye. And it's unanimous with 6. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the work session for July 11th?
So moved.
Mr. Halsey with a motion.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Matala was our second. All those in favor of adjourning our work session? Aye. Again, unanimous with 6. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting for July 11th, 2023 for the Glynn County School Board of Education. Mr. Halsey, would you like to do our invocation and pledge?
I would love to. Let's stand up. So I'm going to do a little something different. It's still a prayer, but it's a prayer found online. It was written at the start of the new school year by an Episcopal priest in the Diocese of New York. So let us pray. This is a new school year. May we all meet this time of year with renewed commitment to our individual callings. May we all continue to grow in wisdom, knowledge, curiosity, humility, confidence, and compassion, even when we are not in school. Help us to look toward the outskirts, toward the margins for people in need of compassion and generosity. May we never stop including those who sit on the edge of the playground. May we never stop sharing our pencils and our sandwiches with those in need. May we never cease to see your spirit and goodness in each person we meet. I pray in the name of Jesus, our great teacher, prophet, and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Halsey.
Yes, ma'am.
So we had our spotlight with the 2022-23 state champions was presented earlier as the champions were here with us. At this time, we'll move to the citizens address the board portion. Do I have the, I just need to read a preamble. It's a little different tonight with back-to-back meetings, so take one moment to get our paperwork. No one?
No, we have some.
Okay.
I think she wanted, to-
Oh, I had to sign something, I
I
didn't.
think she wanted to speak. She's
Okay.
already.
Yeah, Jim's out.
Let her sign it up here.
Yeah,
Sure.
she's been sitting there for an hour or so.
Yes. She's waiting on the paperwork. Yeah, she's waiting on the paper document.
Okay, just before we get started, I have to read the portion at the top of this sheet you just signed. So this is a preamble to the public comment portion of our meeting. It states the Board of Education has adopted a policy that permits citizens under certain circumstances to address the board on a variety of topics of general concern to the operation of our schools. We welcome visitors to board meetings and are interested in hearing from the taxpayers and patrons of our school system. We have a few simple rules for public comment. Each person wishing to address the board must sign this roster. Each person is limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment portion of the meeting will not exceed 30 minutes. Each citizen who has a specific complaint involving an employee must first address the issue with the superintendent, and if not resolved, then may request to speak with the board. However, certain matters involving personnel and students must be heard in closed session. The superintendent will inform you whether your complaint is one which should be referred to an executive session with the board. By signing this sheet, you're agreeing to abide by these rules. Ms. Timmons, thank you for being here. Go ahead.
It's not a request, I don't know what it is. I just thought to come in because I have two elementary kids and I have an upcoming senior. And I got we were just talking about like upcoming, school and everything like that. And I know that the elementary school is gonna be starting a whole 10 minutes early. So instead of 8, it'll be 7:50, right? Okay, that's fine. But my thing, I guess, and I've asked this, this is my first time coming, I've never been here before. But I guess I was wondering, because I do have friends that live in other locations. I have a friend lives in Savannah, I have a friend lives in Jacksonville. I used to live in Virginia. And I know like schools up there, they stagger like start times, for elementary, middle, and high school. And I guess my question is like, why don't we do that? Like, and when I say stagger, I don't mean, our elementary starts at 8 and then, high school starts at 8:30, middle 8:20, or I might have it backwards, whichever. But like, when I lived in Virginia, the high school, I think we went to school either at like 7:30 or something like that, and we got out sooner, and then middle got out, and then elementary got out. And I guess the reason why I'm, I guess bringing this up simply because parents such as myself, because I have a bigger age gap between my first and my second child, and my first and my third child, granted, it's not those older kids' responsibility necessarily to take care of their younger siblings, but it would be helpful, to kind of take out like after school fees, for working parents and stuff like that, because it can be very difficult, like a decision like, okay, I have to put my kid in after school because I have to work, or, you know what I mean? Even if it's just for like an hour or two or something like that. And, myself and, some of my friends, we do talk about stuff like this, how difficult it can be, because elementary school gets out at 2 something, and then middle and high get out at 3 something, when it can be kind of reverse, letting those older kids get out sooner, again, to help with their younger kids. Now, I did call earlier, and Ms. Brick was saying, what if it was on the other way? Like the parent who has to be to work at 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, and that high school kid does help, getting the younger kid ready and everything like that. But if they go to school early, who's gonna, you know what I mean? And I'm sure it probably is like a double-edged sword or something like that. But I don't know if y'all have talked about stuff like that, or if anybody has even asked, but, I was just kind of thinking that would be a really good idea, like having high school start first, and then, stagger the middle and the elementary school, and that would take out some of those after-school fees for people, because really, I just was asking, if that can be put out there or something like that, to stagger school times, or even just ask, how did y'all come up with that, like, or, why, or do y'all like do a poll of that for parents or something like that, or is that something only y'all decide?
Well, and this session is just really for public comment, but you have a cabinet of people that kind of help make those decisions sitting here, so it's a good time to put that out for them to hear. And I know in the past there have been parent surveys, maybe not particularly for that, but so it's great to share your thoughts on it, and they'll take note of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have your, if you want to finish filling this out, if you want us to call you.
Yeah, I was going to, stop.
You want to take
I think uniforms are amazing. I think kids should wear uniforms. I think it reduces some bullying. Everybody looks uniform, everybody looks the same. There's no reason to pick on anybody. And they're much, much cheaper. I don't know why anybody disagrees with that and they feel they should go buy all this, other clothes, but how do we get uniforms back in?
We tried
Again,
uniforms.
I guess they're listening.